My name is Julian Hart. I arrived at university with a rucksack and bright, naive plans. Dad's house, the old semi on Willow Lane, was supposed to be my anchor, a place of quiet between lectures. Instead, it became the battleground of my life. The man I called brother decided the family estate was more precious than my degree. Ethan, my elder brother, had always had a way with words. He smiled in meetings, charmed our neighbors, and whispered to Dad in that careful voice that bent the old man's heart. When Dad got sick, Ethan's voice grew louder. He painted me as a distraction, an unnecessary burden. It was easy for him. Guilt is fragile, and fear makes people reach for whatever seems safe. One night while I was revising for an exam, my tutor called to say my dad was asking for me. The house smelled of medicine and finality. My father's eyes were distant. Ethan took my hand in his and said, with the brotherly calm of a man rehearsing a lie, "We should settle the house now, for the family. It's best for you to find your own place." Dad nodded, craving peace more than truth. Papers were signed, and the keys changed hands. That night, I left with a backpack and a bitterness I couldn't swallow. My final image of home was Dad's weak smile beneath Ethan's satisfied one. The next weeks were a study in humiliation. I bounced between friends' couches in university halls, learning how to sleep in library chairs and answer, "Where do you live?" with a shrug. Lectures blurred into cafe shifts and nights studying under streetlights. I told myself, survival was temporary. Pride was not optional. People asked how I managed, and I lied well, saying I was focused, though nights were filled with hunger and doubt. Scholarship forms were rejected, and I watched Ethan post pictures from charity galas, raising glasses under chandeliers. Graduation came with no family photos, only the ache of absence. But I had my degree, and a sense of justice still forming. When Dad's funeral passed, the house on Willow Lane felt emptier than ever. Loss, I learned, has no loyalty. After the funeral, the town whispered, "Poor Julian," they said, before turning back to their own lives. Ethan wore grief like one of his tailored suits, visiting solicitors and signing papers that tightened his hold on the family fortune. People brought casseroles and condolences, then forgot I existed. The first months after graduation were lean, but full of purpose. I took courier shifts, warehouse temp jobs, and online finance courses. Humiliation became my teacher. If Ethan thought I'd vanished, he was wrong. I was rebuilding, using time and stubborn work as my foundation. I found a small room above a shuttered shop, smelling of old paint and secondhand dreams, and started as an accountancy assistant. I learned how money really moves, how greed hides behind signatures and invoices. Meanwhile, Ethan expanded his reach, showing off his wealth like armor. But I was studying him, learning the anatomy of excess. A year later, I'd saved enough to start small investments, repairs, cleaning contracts, small flips, turning thin profits into thicker margins. I realized that property could be both a weapon and a wound. So I formed Hart & Co. with 2 university friends, offering renovation and management for struggling estates. We fixed roofs, rewired old homes, and earned trust. Our reputation grew faster than our funds, but it was honest growth. Then, Ethan overreached. A failed events venture left him drowning in debt. For once, charm couldn't save him. I quietly audited his property and uncovered a web of negligence, outdated wiring, unpermitted changes, insurance gaps. These became my leverage. When the bank pressed harder, Ethan came to me, not as a brother, but as a desperate man asking for a bridge loan. I offered it under a contract that secured a small mortgage in Hart & Co.'s name. Nothing illegal, nothing loud, just the first quiet shift of control. From there, revenge moved like geology, slow, precise, inevitable. As we renovated and legitimized the property, its value rose, but so did his debt. When he defaulted, I bought his loan at market value. The solicitor handled it cleanly. The house was mine legally, transparently. Ethan raged on the doorstep, accusing me of betrayal. I told him I'd only given him chances he squandered. Rage doesn't pay mortgages, and for the first time, he understood that. Still, I didn't evict him. I offered a deal, structured debt repayments, financial counseling, and work under a management contract. He scoffed, but had no choice. Pride with creditors is a brittle thing. As months passed, Hart & Co. renovated the house into flats, transforming it from a trophy into something functional. Ethan worked under my oversight, inspecting, learning the trade he once mocked. When the last tenant signed, he came to me quietly, admitting how far he'd fallen. He asked for forgiveness. I gave him only what I could afford, work and structure, not absolution. Revenge didn't taste sweet. It tasted necessary. I didn't want blood. I wanted balance. The house on Willow Lane now sheltered tenants who paid rent on time, not a man mistaking status for worth. Years later, I watched a Hart & Co. van drive past that same house, neighbors waving. Ethan walked by with a real toolbox, nodding silently. There was no triumph in me, just peace. If people ask how I did it, I tell them, I traded fury for consistency, shame for ledgers. I learned the law, fixed leaks, and let bureaucracy be my vengeance. Real revenge doesn't destroy, it rebuilds differently. Sometimes I visit Dad's grave a few streets away. I leave a notebook or a pen, reminders that I kept learning. Even when I had nothing, I don't speak to him. The past is a quiet room where blame echoes. Ethan still calls sometimes. We coexist in truce, bound by necessity, not nostalgia. I forgave what I could, and the rest I left in the rubble of old pride. The house that once marked betrayal now stands as proof that I refuse to let my story end at its doorstep.